So this is the very beginning of designing an app. And we start off with what are called wireframes. And these basically show the progression through the app. They show what the app is going to basically have. And it's just a very rough look into where things are going to go and how things are going to be placed and things like that. So for today, for this demo, I'm going to be creating a pool finder app. And it's just going to have these 4 screens. I don't want to get too crazy with it and take too much time. So you'll have a sign up screen where you sign up and you log in. And basically, you could also, if you're already a user, you can tap this link here to log in if you already have an account. And that takes us over to the home screen, which has a featured pool and then pools near me. It basically pulls that from my location. And I also have a search bar up here at the top. And if I tap on the name of a pool, so for example, this pool right here, or even this featured pool, let's do that. It will go to the actual pool screen, which shows a picture of the pool, shows the name of the pool, if it's open or not, a short description, and then a button that gives us directions. And that directions button then takes us to the directions screen. And then this back will take us back to that screen right there. And so this is how we do this. When you're creating an app, you start off with a very rough sketch of what the app does, where things are going to go, and stuff like that. And then once you have this pretty much the way you want it, you then begin doing a what's called a high fidelity mock-up or a high fidelity design of the app. So let's go ahead and jump into that portion of the app design. Okay, so it's time to start working on the high fidelity version of our app. So I have taken a picture of my wireframe, and so I have it for reference purposes, and then of course I have Sketch up and running here, and we're going to start off by the first thing we need to do is we need to define the color palette that we're going to use in this app. And so I'm just going to create a plain old standard artboard here, and I'm going to call it color palette. So this is a pool finder app, so I would think there'd be, a lot of blues in there. So let's start off by making our first color that we're going to put in there. And I'm going to go with a kind of a light blue, maybe like really light blue. And then maybe go with something like an orange or a yellowish orange, but more saturated than that. So something like that. Okay, for that. So, and then I may not use it, but I'm going to define a third color. I'm going to make that kind of like a aquamarine green, like that. Okay, so there's our color palette, and doopy-doopy-doo. So now that I have these colors set up, I'm going to want to add those to my document colors. So I'm going to go ahead and just let's see if I can do this multiple. Yeah, okay. Not. Alright, and then we add this one here. So I have those colors now in my document colors. I don't need this palette anymore. So let's go ahead and start off by making an iPhone X artboard. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to make a rectangle here. And I'm going to put this light blue in there. And I want to put some text in there. And I'm not going to get too fancy with the text, so I'll go ahead and make this like 34 point. And we're not going to get crazy. And we're just going to call this, I'm going to center this. I'm going to call this Pool Finder. So that'll be our splash screen. So that's where we start off with. I'm going to call that Artboard Splash. Okay, I'm going to make another artboard. So let's go ahead and make our login screen now. So if I go back to my sketch here, I can see that I have 3 fields and already a user thing. So, and I even left out a button. So that's okay. That's what that is all about. So I'm going to be using the Apple iOS UI design library. So we're going to start off with the status bar, and we're going to drop that in. That's our status bar. And we want to go ahead and put a title, basically a background on that. And I'm going to put that to the back. And I'm going to give that one of my colors. Alright. So that's a nice green. So that's my title bar. And I want to go ahead and put a title up in here. But not that big. Let's go with 18 point. And let's go with semi-bold. And we're going to call this Home. And make sure that's centered. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take, I need to put an icon in there. I need to put a hamburger icon because in my design I have a hamburger icon. Even though we're not really going to be using that hamburger icon. So I'm just going to put that in there anyway. So I'm going to use this app called Nucleo. Nucleo is a really amazing app that has icons for everything. This is a subscription-based thing. I'm going to put this this kind of a menu in there instead of the traditional hamburger because, you know, hamburgers are so going out of style, and I want to change the color. I actually don't want to change the color. I'm going to leave it black. So let's put that in our thing here. So now we have our menu here, and I'm actually going to move this over a bit and up maybe a little bit. And then I want to do is sort of take these two and I want to align them. There we go. And so now now what I have is my hamburger, or my menu icon, I have my title, I have my status bar. I'm going to turn this entire thing into a symbol. So I'm going to group it. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it molecule slash title bar. I'm using the atomic design terminologies. So this is I'm sorry, this is not a molecule. I'm sorry, this is an organism. And then, oh no, this is a molecule. I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm thinking. Molecule, sorry. And then, so now that I have that titled molecule title bar, I can hit create symbol up here and create that symbol. So, and then if I go to my symbols, you can see it's here. And one of the things I want to make sure is that I put the title of the thing up first because I want that there. And then I'm going to put the status bar actually above that, so that the overrides are in a certain order. So if I go back here and I click on this, the overrides over here, you can see the status bar is here. I can choose between black or white if I wanted to. And then the time style, I can change what the style looks like. I can change the time, and then I can change the name of the screen. So now that we have our title bar in place, I'm gonna I want to go ahead and start working on the next part, which is the sign in. And actually, you know what? I made a mistake. This is actually, that's the home screen. I need to make need to make another one for the sign in. I completely got ahead of myself. Let's get rid of that. So we'll rename this one and call it sign up, and then this one we'll call home. All right, so the sign up is not going to have that, but it is going to have a status bar because reasons. Status bar black. So we're going to go ahead and put that there, and going to go ahead and put some copy up here. Let's some copy, even though I didn't put that in my wireframe. It's nice to have some copy there. Welcome to Pool Finder. Just sign up and we'll get you splashing away. Alright, so yeah, it's corny, but it is what it is. So that's that. Now I need to get my sign up in here. So I really want a background on this, so I'm going to go ahead and go with this blue background, which I originally deleted, and I'm going to arrange that and send that to the back. Now another way you can do the background, of course, is you can go up here, choose the artboard, and turn on background color, and choose your background color from your document colors. That's another way of doing it. And that way, when you have to select a bunch of items, you don't end up selecting the background and moving it, kind of like this. You'll see, like that. You don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and do that for this one too. So we'll go to Splash and change the background color to that blue. Alright, so now I want to add some fields. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a rectangle. And I don't want it to be too big. We're going to make this rectangle white. And we're going to basically push the radius to maximum. And then I'm just basically going to put in the word label. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change that to a gray color, like that. So we have the label, we have the field. So each one of those are atoms, and they create a molecule. So we're going to go ahead and group that. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it molecule/field. And I'm going to create a symbol out of that. So once I've created that symbol, now I have the override here. And I can now just take this and duplicate it 2 more times. And we just put in here name. And then put the override for this one to be email. And then the override for this one to be password. And I'm actually going to put a second field called password. And I'm going to call it password one more time. And then I'm going to put another thing down here, which is of course the button to log in. And again, I'm going to make this I'm not going to make it white, but I just want to make it white so I can see what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to choose from one of my colors here. I think I'm going to make it orange. Ugh, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that either. Now, orange is not too bad. It's not too bad. And anytime you want to change one of your document colors, you can do it by just adjusting it, and so making it more like yellow, and you can just add a new one in there. And you can pull this one out like that. So I didn't like that orange, but I do like this yellow. So it's very nice. So this is going to be my button for signing up. So I want this to be black. And it is okay. And then I want it to be
It's centered already, so I'll just center it inside the button. And the best way to do that is to use these tools that somebody went to great trouble to make. And now I'm going to call this sign up. So that's my button. Now, here's the thing. I might want to use a button later on. So let's go ahead and just call that label. And I'm going to take this and this, group them together, and rename this molecule button. Okay, and then create a symbol out of that. Boom. So now with the override for that, I can change the label to sign up. So that's there. Boom. Now, I need to put in a link here for my already have an account. I'm going to make that bold, and I want to make that a little bit smaller, so let's make it 16, and we'll put that there. I'm actually going to swap these now that I think about it. See, this is just think about this stuff, and you have to also keep in mind that some people have big pork chop fingers and they could mistap on something, and then that's going to be a bad user experience for them. So I'm going to make this no medium. There we go. So welcome to Pool Finder. There's your sign up screen. So the other thing you have to think about when you're designing a sign up screen or a login screen is where the keyboard's going to go. So the good thing to do is to come over here to the UI design, go to keyboards, and get your keyboard and drop it in. And one other thing is, with regards to iPhone 10, is you also have to take into account the swipe bar, the home bar, to go back. So if you go over iPhone 10, it is somewhere in here. Home indicator. There we go. So you need to put your home indicator in there as well for if you're going to do iPhone 10, because that's got to go there so the user can go back home, and you have to use the Apple went to the trouble to make this object the right size, so there's enough spacing here between the keyboard and the home bar, and so you have to think about that. Now the other thing to think about is, let me take out this keyboard, is oftentimes the keyboard will, it depends on what your developer, how your developer creates it, but some of these keyboards have the suggestion bar on the top, and in that case you need to see what happens there. You have to be very careful about that. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and move this up a bit, and we'll select all these things and we'll move them up a bit, and then we're good. Okay. So the other thing is you have to remember is there is a title bar here too. So things can get very cramped very quickly, and so I'm going to go ahead and move these down a little bit, just a little bit, not too much, and I'm going to move this down a little bit, just like that, because you have to take into account that title bar. So there you go. So now there you go. I'm just looking at what I've got here as far as bars and stuff. So, okay, so that's the sign up screen. We got that. So now we can start to work on the home screen. And the one thing that is really kind of kicking me right now is this green bar up here. Really doesn't match what the user has seen so far. So I want to make that blue. So that's very easy to do. So you just go into your symbols and you go to that rectangle and you change it to that blue. And then bam, there you go. Alright, now it's time for the home screen. Now, let me go back to my little drawing here. So I have a search bar at the top. That's super easy. All we have to do is go into iOS US Design again and find the search bar. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and make it active, so it looks like somebody's typing something into it. And it does have an override, so I can actually type in something. So like I'm just gonna put the word free there, because some swimming pools do charge you. So we're gonna just go ahead and put that there and leave it active. And then below that, I want to go ahead and put some kind of a separation to kind of separate the search area from the rest of the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and copy my iPhone 10 status or home bar in there, so I have that, so I know where my limit is. And of course, now I get to go ahead and put in my featured pool. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to put a rectangle in here. Create a rectangle, maybe make it about like that. Okay, take off the border. I don't want a border. And I'm going to make sure that it's centered. And this is going to be my featured pool picture. I might make it a little bit bigger, just a little bit bigger, yeah. And then I want to put an image in here, so I went up to Unsplash before I started this and got some pool images. And I want to find one that I like, that I think is cool looking. I think that's cool looking. I think this is cool looking. I can go with this one. So we're going to add that in there, and we're going to tell it to fill that rectangle. So there we go. So now I want to put, now in my wireframe, I actually put the featured pool in the picture. So one good way of doing that is I'm going to create a second rectangle in this rectangle. Okay. Or actually the best thing to do would be to copy this rectangle and paste it, and then change it to a solid fill. Or in this case, actually, a gradient fill. So I want this to be black. I want this to be black, but with a 0% thing on it. And then I'm going to drag this little line down here, just like this, until I get the gradient where I want it. And the purpose behind that is you want some kind of a dark gradient there in case it's a lighter picture. So if I were to change the picture back there to a lighter picture, you want some kind of a dark gradient there, and you'll see why. So I'm going to start off by putting some text in here. I'm going to change this from SF Pro to SF Pro Display. And this is the typeface you use when you're going to be making a large type. So, and we're going to make this bold. And maybe 30 point is good. There we go. And I'm going to just use the word featured pool. There we go. I'm going to put that right there and then change it to be white. So now, because this is white, you have a black gradient going from the bottom up. If the picture in the background, see if I move this down a little bit, if I were to change this picture to a lighter picture, let me go ahead and just do that for demo purposes. Let me find a light one, like this one. Okay, so now you can see this is a brighter picture. It's daytime. But because I have this gradient at the bottom, my featured pool text in white doesn't get lost. So if I were to take this out, see how the text now is kind of getting lost in the picture? It doesn't really pop out very well. So with that gradient, no matter what the picture looks like, you're always going to be able to see your text very clearly down there. And I could even so much as lessen that that gradient a little bit, maybe drop it down to 80. So just enough so that the text is legible and readable. That's a very important thing. Is the user needs to be able to read what is there and not squint and trying to figure out what it is. All right, so we got our featured pool there. And I really am not sure I like the square look, so I'm going to make this a rounded picture. So it's got beveled edges, curved. So there we go. I like that better. So there we go. We got our featured pool, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it this picture because this is actually not a bad looking picture. And so what's next? So I need to put the name of the pool next, and that is going to be SF Pro text, and that's going to be like 20 point. And let's just call this Eldorado public pool. So we're going to go ahead and put that there. So we have the name of the pool now. And so now what I want to do is I actually want to create a status kind of icon. And so I could put text there that just says status open or something like that. Well, I could also be cute and make an actual cool little icon that indicates whether it's open or closed. So I'm going to start by making a rectangle, and I'm going to make it I'm going to make it this color. Okay. And I'm going to round the edges on this thing. Maybe a little bit more. And that's too much. How about 6? There we go. Actually, you know what? Maybe 4 was right. This is what I do. I talk to myself and I work through these things. So, all right. So then I'm going to make this like 14 point. How about 13 point? Yeah, 13 points better. And I'm going to make it medium. And I'm going to say open. Okay, and I'm going to put that right here. And of course I'm going to use these tools that somebody went to the trouble to make sure it's all centered, and I'm going to change this to white. So that's that. Now I want to, if I'm going to make this into a symbol, there's 2 things I got to do. It's a 2-step process in this case. The first thing I need to do is I need to duplicate this rectangle, and I need to change this color. And I'm actually going to make this, to make when it's closed, I'm going to make it like a light gray. So I'm going to go ahead and add that gray to my document colors just so I have it. And then I'm going to move, well, no, I'm not going to move that yet. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually want to spread this out, and I definitely want to center that. So I'm going to stretch this out near the edge, okay? And what I want to do is I want to make this first rectangle, which is an atom, a symbol. So I'm going to call it atom open button, and I'm going to rename this one atom slash closed button. Or, actually, you know what I could do? I could just do it this way. I think it would be better to do it this way. Button gray. And then I'll rename this one. I'll name this one button green. So then now I have these 2 atoms. Okay. In atomic design, it would be an atom because it's not. It is alone. It's by itself. It doesn't have any other atoms with it yet. So I'm going to create these and make these into symbols. So those are 2 symbols now. Now what I want to do is I want to take the open text and that button, group them, and rename this to molecule slash status. And then what I can do now is I can make that into a symbol. Okay, I can delete that. So now I have to go back into my symbols and check on this real quick because it looks like we have some differences. 8329, 8328, that's why. your canvas sizes, or I'm sorry, your artboard sizes and your symbols need to be the same size. So the button is 82 by 28, but your actual canvas needs to be the same in both cases. So 8329, 8329, in order for it to show up in your overrides over here. So now you can see gray, and I can switch it to gray. Now you notice how that moved? That means I need to adjust the symbol a little bit. See how that moved? So what I need to do there is I need to move this down. There we go. So in that case, you look at the position. So this one's 0.27 and 1. And you look at this one, it's 0.27 and 1. So now there shouldn't be any movement. These are some of the things you have to tweak sometimes for these symbols. So boom, there you go. It moves real nice there. Sweet. So then that's open, so that's fine. So we're going to put that right there. I'm going to zoom back out. And there we go. That's your symbol. And I actually want to go ahead and move these to be over here. So there we go. So we have our name, we have our status of the pool, and now if I go back to my drawing, I want to add pools near you. So I'm going to go ahead and add a separator line right here. And now I'm going to add this thing. So this is the fun part now. Now we're going to be using some serious symbol stuff. So I'm going to draw another rectangle. And so this is going to be a list, basically, of pools that are near me. So when you're creating a list, it's very important to give the list items a lot of space. So I start off by creating a rectangle like this. Okay. And then what I do is I create that. That's going to be the background of the list. So the list item will be this high. So, and the reason I like to make my lists big like this is because, like I said, some people in this world have pork chop fingers, and they are so big that they end up tapping the wrong thing. So if I went with the default list size, which is like somewhere like that, and you have a list of things like this, yeah, that's so tiny that it can be frustrating. So I like to make my list items a little bit larger. So we'll make it about this big. Get rid of that. I'm going to leave the gray background on there right now so I know where my boundaries are. And I'm going to make this regular, and I'm going to make this 18 point, and I need to make it black. Alright. So, there we go. Alright. Getting reminders from things here. So, this is going to be the label of the list item, and it's left justified. That's good. So, I'm just going to call it label. And then I want to put an icon over here to denote that when this gets tapped, it's going somewhere. It's going to go to another screen. I mean, that's pretty much self-explanatory, but I like to do it anyway. So I'm going to go here into my Nucleo, and I'm going to look for an arrow. And like this arrow right here looks pretty good. Let's see if there's anything else. Sometimes you can, if you go to you type in next, it shows you arrows. So doop-a-doop-a-doo, doop-a-doop-a-doo. Here we go. I like this one, so put that in there. Alright, so that's small right arrow. I'm going to take it out of its group there because it doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger too. I'm going to make this 16. That's too big. Whoa, too big. I actually want to make it 16 high. There we go. And then I'm going to go to this little plug-in and see if I can clean this pixel up. Alright, there we go. Alright, so that's that. So let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I'm going to put this right over here. The other thing is I don't want it to be black. I'm going to make it like a light gray. Like that. And then so my background now will be white. Now the one thing though I want lines separating each item in the list. So I'm going to go ahead and add a line. So it's going to go from right there to the end. Alright, and then I want this to be flat with the bottom inside the rectangle like that. So then I'm going to take these two and I'm going to line them up and I'm going to group them, and then I want to take the line and the background and I want to group them up. Alright, and then we're going to send that to the back and then choose my label and my box and line them up and then group them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it molecule list item. Let's just call it list item. So then I'm going to make that into a symbol. So now I have my list item, and I can now actually, before I do anything else, I want to move this down a bit. And I'm going to duplicate this and put it down right here and say pools near you. Boom. And I'm going to put that right there. Now, I am not really happy with the size of that label. It's a little bit large, I think. So it's very simple to go in. Thank you, Sketch, for doing that. Sometimes it loves to do crazy things. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to the label. And I'm going to change this to, let's say, 16 point. And we should be okay as far as being centered. Yeah, there we go. Now we're good. So now we got that. The other thing I want to do is I want to take this line and lighten it up a bit. It's a little too dark for my taste. So we're going to lighten it up, make it a really, really light line. And then we're going to go back. There we go. Ta-da! Alright. So then I can duplicate this. And then I can just put in the override for the label. And let's just say Ridge Lake Swim Club. And then over here we're going to put let's see, Laurel Pool. Okay, so now we have our pools near me, and of course this can go on down here, but of course my home thing is in the way, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. We're just going to leave this like this. And so now there's a little piece of the puzzle that I left out. And this is something that comes up a lot, is like as you're working on these high fidelity mock-ups or designs, or the actual design of the app, you realize that you forgot something. And you're just like, and that's why you usually have a team of people that, you know, we discuss it and you basically come up with solutions, and other people will see, well, oh, you left this out, or oh, you left that out. What about pools near me? But what if I want to know how far away this is from me? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the symbol for this, and I'm going to actually create another text item. I'm going to make it a light gray, and I'm going to make it smaller like that, and I'm going to call it distance. Okay, so then what I want to do now is I want to take the label here and move it up like that, and then I want to take the distance label and move it beneath it just like that. Take those, make sure they're lined up nice, and then the other thing to keep in mind with symbols is you want to make sure you put this field out to where the maximum where it should be. That way you don't end up overwriting your arrow. And distance is not going to be that far, so it doesn't need to be that big. So there we go. So now we have label and distance in our symbol, and you'll now see it is now reflected in the design. So I'm going to go ahead and put the distance of let's see, 2.2 miles, and then this one I'm going to make a little bit further, 5.8 miles. Okay, so that way we know how far that is. I also want to go ahead and use that same distance item up here and put it right up here, and I'm actually going to justify that and say this one is 4.7 miles. So that way, I'm actually going to make this one a little bit bigger because it's the featured pool. So that's lined up, and I'm going to line that up there, and boom, there we go. So there's our home screen, basically, for the most part. Let me check my design, or my sketch over here. So we designed the title bar, we designed the search bar, we designed the featured pool, the name, the status, the pool's near you, and all that stuff. So we have that. And one thing I don't like here is the pool's near you. I think it could be a little bit bigger. So we're going to bump that up. Actually, I want to see what this is. This is 30, so I'm going to make this 30 as well. Do I really want to do that? No, I do not. I'm going to make it like 24. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't want this competing with that too much. So I might even go so far as to make this a heavier typeface, heavier weight, so that it stands out more. I might even make this, make this smaller again, so that it doesn't really compete too much. So that looks better. I like that. So there you go. There's your home screen. Now we're going to make another screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this title bar here. Actually, I'm going to take this and the title bar. I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to paste that in so I have that. And then just use the override here and change this to, what was it? Pool, I believe. Yeah, whatever pool it is. So let's call this El Dorado. We're going to use the featured pool for this. So we're going to put the name in the title, just like that. Okay, and so in my sketch, what do we got? I got a picture of the pool, so I've already got a picture of the pool here. But what if I wanted to, but of course this one has text in it, so I'm just going to take this, I'm going to paste this into here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the rounded corners. I'm going to actually take this and put it all the way up to the top, stretch it out, make it a little bit bigger, so that you're seeing a bigger picture, a much more in-depth picture without anything obscuring the view. So we have the picture of our pool, and then below that we want to put the name. So of course we already got the name over here and the status. So I'm just going to copy those and paste them over here. I'm going to make this El Dorado public pool part a little bit larger, or significantly larger. How about 24? Normally I set up text styles and stuff like that, but for time purposes I'm not going to do that. So there we go. In fact, I want to actually move this down a little bit. There we go. So move this up. Now this is cool because if you hold down the Option key and you have an object selected and you highlight or mouse over an object near it, it'll tell you how many pixels distance it is from there. So I can see now this is like half pixels, so I need to fix that. I don't like half pixels. So 7, 8. So we're now 8 pixels. There we go. So there's some consistency there. So then we have the status of the pool, and then the other thing is the description. So here's where you would put a nice big text field. Okay. And let me just do this. So we put this text field here, There we go. Alright, we're going to change this to regular, and we're going to drop this down to like 14 point. No, too small, too small. That's the other thing you got to keep in mind is that not everybody can read small type. So you got to play around with what the size of the type is going to be. I like 18. It's kind of large. Maybe it's just because I'm old. I don't know. So now we're going to put some text in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and go to Lorem Ipsum and just grab some Lorem Ipsum copy because I don't feel like trying to think about what I want to say here for time's sake. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, and let's just call it quits right there. Normally, I would never do this. Okay, if I was actually working on an app design for work or for whatever, I would never, ever use Lorem Ipsum unless there's a really good reason to do so. Because it's nice to put copy in there that is actual copy. And it's good to think about what copy you want to put in for this. But for time's sake, I'm just going to do it this way. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to grab this button over here and I want to plop it in over here because I want a button that gets me some directions. So I'm going to change this from sign up to directions. Okay, and so I have a directions button. I'm going to move that down a little bit so that just a little bit right there, because you never know how much space this copy is going to take up. Ultimately, you might have to move this around a bit or make this smaller. So there is our pool. I'm going to call this pool. There's our pool screen. So I go back to my thing. I have a picture, the status, the description, and directions. And the next thing I have to do is create a map screen. Now, most apps probably would not do this. Most developers wouldn't want to spend the time doing this. The best thing to do is to hit directions and just launch Google Maps or Apple Maps and then provide all the data that it needs to show how to get there. But for this, I wanted to create my own map thing. So we call it directions, and so now here's something really cool. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to design, and I'm going to go to Google Maps APIs. This is a really cool website for developers and designers. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in an address here. I'm just going to put in Woodbridge, where I live, and I'm going to see if there's any pools here. It doesn't look like it. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in here and go to just some random location, and what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to design my own little map thing here. Let me find something really good here. This is kind of a boring map thing here. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and put it. Where are we going to put our phone? I mean our pool. I'm going to put it over here. Put it right by the park here. So what I'm going to do is I want to take out, you can take out landmarks. You can define what level of landmark you want. So in this case, I want to get I actually want to take some of these other landmarks out. You could even take labels out if you want. So that way you actually retain some of the green stuff in these icons. You can also control what roads are visible and things like that. You can even just choose what you want. You want retro, you want it to be dark, night, this kind of stuff. Dark mode's pretty in right now, but I'm not going to do that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm trying to figure out, there we go. I get rid of my icons, but at the same time I'm getting rid of my street names. I don't think I want to get rid of my street names. So let's leave this like this. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a screenshot of this section right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here and I'm going to go ahead and create a rectangle, which is my map. Make sure it's flush with the top. Get rid of the border. And I'm going to fill this with my screenshot. So I'm going to go back to my screenshot. Here we go. Open that up. Boom. There's our map. Now, I want to show how to get from one place to another. So basically, what I want to do is I want to put a marker that represents where the person is currently at. And so this is exactly the reason why most developers will not do this. They will just defer to Google Maps or Apple Maps in this case. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So I'm going to create a marker here. I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to turn that off and go with this blue. And I'm going to go ahead and shrink that down. So that is our location. This is the marker for our location. I'm going to group that. Let's just say I'm right here. Okay, and now what I want to do is I want to go and get an icon for map. So I don't want any of this stuff. So I just got to find the right map marker thing. I don't want it with the plus sign and all that garbage on there. You know what I could do? I can just go ahead and make my own. Let's just do this. But you ready to be amazed? Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to make my own map marker. So we start off with a circle. I'm going to make this, yeah, let's go with that color since we've used that color before. So I'm going to go in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this straight down. And I'm going to take these little handles and move them in. Boom. There's our map marker. And I really don't like that color. It's just too, it doesn't really pop enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it, yeah, let's make it orange. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a circle in the middle. Okay, and then what I need to do is I need to subtract that. So I subtracted the circle, so now you can see it's transparent. You can see through the circle. So I'm going to put this little marker right here. So let's say this little road here leads to the pool. So I can zoom out now. So now you can see it's right here. Still don't like this color. I need to make something that stands out. Let's go with red. So there we go. So I'm here. That's where the pool is. It's not too far away. It's actually not 4.7 miles. Let's make this 0.7 miles. Let's do that. 0.7 miles. And actually, you know, I want to go ahead and put that here too. Because remember, this is going to be a template for all your pool pages. Not just the featured pool, but all your pool pages will look this way with a picture, the title, the distance, whether it's open or closed, and that kind of stuff. So there we go. I got the map. And so let me go back here. I've got map. I've got the, okay, so I got to put the address in there. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this text, and I'm going to put it in here. Move this down. And I'm just going to call this 2797 Ox Road. Let's call it Burke, Virginia. And we don't have palm trees here in Virginia, so that's going to be interesting. And I want to go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. That's too big. There we go. And then what else do I want to put in here? Let's go ahead and make this one on one line. And then let's go ahead and add a phone number. So there we go, 555-1234. And let's say this pool has a website. This pool has a website, so we're gonna call it El Dorado Swim at, or I'm sorry, .com. And ElDoradoSwim.com, and let's say they do have an email address. What if they do have an email address? SwimElDorado@gmail.com. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit smaller. And there we go. There's that information. And one of the things I need to do here, I need to put this in here so I have that. I'm going to go ahead and make a background here because this looks kind of boring. And let's make it arrange, send it back. Don't like the yellow. I'm not a fan. Definitely not a fan. Nope, not a fan. There we go. Definitely not a fan. Let's just do light blue. Alright, there we go. So that's that. And that's a very simple screen. That's a very simple screen. That's done. So now the only problem with this is the directions is not a menu. It should not have a menu item in the thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell this to what I could do is I could create a nested symbol here and do that, but for time's sake I'm just going to detach this from the symbol so it becomes its own thing, and I'm going to go ahead and take the menu out, and then I want to put in a back arrow so it will take me back to whatever previous screen it was. So so we'll use this one. Okay. So this one here. Let's make it bigger. And then that will go right there. Maybe down a little bit more. And maybe up. Come on, line it up. There we go. Alright. So there we go. And that is that screen. I'm going to go ahead and bring that down all the way. So that's the directions screen. So we have our directions screen with the address, and I might even want to go ahead and move this down and just copy this and paste it in here and put this down here like that, so I know what I'm looking at. There we go. So there you go. This is it. I mean, that's basically it. I just need to rename this artboard to directions, and I now have my app design. So that's basically how we go from this to this. And so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the splash screen because I don't like it. But for what we did here, this is it. This is the sign up, where we sign up for our account, or if you haven't already have an account, we'll go to another screen. And then our home screen, which has our featured pool, and then pools near me. And then if we were to tap on this featured pool, it would take me here. And so that's what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to space these artboards out just a little bit, and then we'll be finished, and then I will be done. So I want to create a prototype now. So down here we have a little lightning bolt. So now all I have to do is select an object, hit C, and drag it. And so this will link to the screen. This is a click. No, this is a tap. and it's instant, and we're going to go ahead and add that. So when I tap the sign up button, it's going to take me to the home screen. So next, I want to be able to tap on this and take me to here. So tap instant, there we go. So that takes me there. And then of course if I hit this, takes me to that screen. And if I tap on this, takes me back to this screen. Pretty cool, huh? So, and just for the heck of it, I'm gonna go ahead and tap that to go back here, so I have a way to get back, because I didn't design a menu screen. I wasn't gonna do that. So there you go. So this is the prototype. Now what I can do is I can preview this, and actually I want to start right here. There we go. So I can preview this out. So if I tap on, actually I've got to do this on my phone, I think, but it basically, if I tap on sign up, it will take me to the next screen, and there you go. I don't know if I have to make this a click. Let's see if that works, because I should be able to preview this. No, that's not what it is. Yeah, I don't know why that's not working, but yeah. So that's how that works. Yeah, this is a tap. And then that's a tap. And then that's a tap. Okay. So that's how that works. So if I were to show it on my phone, it would show that thing. Or if I were to export it up to InVision, which is what I use for that kind of stuff, it probably would have all that stuff in there. So this shows you exactly how this is going to flow. And of course, you know, there are other tools that I use for that. The one tool that I use right now is Overflow, because it's amazing. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to create user flows. So that's that. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this look into how you make an app and how all the process that's involved with making an app. And yeah, and if you have any questions or anything, you know, feel free to reach out. I will be glad to help in any way I can, if I can. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.